What's going on, everyone? Welcome to today's video. Today, we're talking about Stellar Blade, and one that stirred up a lot of controversy and has had a ton of mixed reviews from the critics, but what seems to be consistent is that fans, the user reviews, the people that are playing this game are really enjoying it from what I'm seeing. In this video specifically, I won't be getting into the controversy, but instead I'll be getting into why I think this is truly special in a multitude of ways. So without further ado, let's jump right into it. Stellar Blade at first glance looks like a standard action game with some elements taken from the likes of Nier, Bayonetta, Dark Souls, among many others. Being that those are all some of my favorite action games of all time, I knew that I'd be drawn to Stellar Blade. But what I didn't expect is that this game would carve out its own experience in ways that were surprisingly incredible. Many of the reviews for Stellar Blade came out and put it down for not being original and pulling too many elements from other games, and in doing so, it didn't really do anything original or unique, but I really disagree with this sentiment. Does it use a parry system similar to Sekiro? Yes, it does. Does it have a provocative main character that kicks ass like 2B and Bayonetta? Yes, it absolutely does. And if you just looked at some gameplay or read some reviews, I wouldn't blame you for agreeing with them. But for me, when I picked this game up and started playing it, the implementation and polish of Stellar Blade's gameplay mechanics put it in a league of its own. Stellar Blade manages to strike a perfect balance of difficulty from the Souls-like games and fast-paced moment-to-moment combat of games like Bayonetta and Nier Automata, in a way that really feels like it was made for me specifically. I absolutely adore Stellar Blade. I can't put it down, and it has exceeded my expectations in so many ways. The combat is built on this perfect parry and perfect dodge combat mechanics. This can present a challenge for those that have trouble with timing, button presses, etc. Fortunately, there are skills in the skill tree that make this a bit easier to accomplish, and there are accessibility options that turn these parries and dodges into QTE-like sequences of sorts. But I found the combat to be really smooth and fluid once I got the hang of it. Some of the boss fights are super challenging, but I really love it for that. Stellar Blade will definitely give you those adrenaline-filled fights that get you on the edge of your seat. I mentioned earlier that the combat pulls inspiration from Sekiro, but it's not just a straight-up copy. Much like Sekiro, Stellar Blade emphasizes defense, and it requires you to master precise timing to parry the enemy's attacks effectively. Each successful parry kind of like chips away at the enemy's balance and eventually opens them up for some really crazy counterattacks that can really dispatch these standard foes very easily, very quickly, and it significantly weakens bosses. There's this shield system, and the parry and the perfect dodge are absolutely crucial in taking down some of these boss fights, especially once you get later into the game. So mastering the game's mechanics are absolutely crucial, and I love Stellar Blade for that. I will say that something Stellar Blade really excels at is its variation in enemy designs, something that I felt was a major flaw in the early hours of Dragon's Dogma. And I don't mean to compare these games, but I had just played Dragon's Dogma, and it was something that stuck out to me early in the game. In Dragon's Dogma, I just felt like all the enemies I was fighting were the same, and everything got super repetitive. But right from the jump in Stellar Blade, you are introduced to a wide variety of enemies that all have various different move sets and will require you to alter your approach to each fight. This keeps the game interesting and keeps the combat from feeling repetitive. I found myself venturing out and trying to find fights rather than avoid them, which is a great indication that this is a really fun action game. Moving on now, I can't talk about Stellar Blade without talking about the presentation. This is easily one of the best looking games I've played, and the design of the characters, the enemies, the environments are all amazing. The UI and menus are really incredible. It's really easy and intuitive to find the things that you really need to get to quickly. I love the camps you stop at to rest and upgrade Eve. I really just enjoy the look and feel of Stellar Blade. And I hope that this series continues, because I would love to see this built upon in future iterations of the game. One standout aspect of the game's action is its remarkable soundtrack. It spans from these high octane tracks that accompany intense boss battles to these nice, relaxing melodies that captivate you as you explore the game's open world segments. The soundtrack is really, really special. Soundtracks aren't always noticeable in games and are kind of just there for some, but I'd say that there's some games that just have such incredible soundtracks, it takes them to an unforgettable level, and Stellar Blade is one of them in my opinion. A few of my favorite game soundtracks are the likes of Nier Automata, Xenoblade Chronicles, Octopath Traveler 1 and 2, and Stellar Blade is up there with the best of them. The soundtrack is exceptional. Moving on now, I really want to talk about the story because it's been criticized a lot for being a little all over the place, filled with plot holes. A lot of the critics have been putting down Stellar Blade for its story, but there is a lot of lore here, but you have to go search for it. The story can feel a bit odd and all over the place at times, I'll give them that. And in terms of its structure, it can be a little messy. But if you pick up the data logs spread throughout the game, they really piece everything together and add to the atmosphere of Stellar Blade's world. I feel like there's a lot here, and there's a lot we don't know, even after finishing the game, but to me, that's okay. I like it when stories don't draw everything out and lay it out for you, and leave things open to interpretation, and I feel like that's what Stellar Blade's aiming to do here. The characters don't have a ton of depth, but they are likable, and I really was interested in the story from start to finish. I know I may be one of the few that feels this way, because again, story has been one of the major criticisms of the game, but I really enjoyed it. It reminds me a bit of the original Nier, where you kind of feel like you're thrown into a really well-established world, and if you want to learn more about what's going on, you have to kind of put in the work to figure it out, which to me, that's great. That's okay. I really like that in my games. Another noteworthy feature of Stellar Blade is its diverse gameplay. It goes beyond its combat and offers a variety of experiences. At times, you are plunged into these underground labs that create this kind of spooky type atmosphere. Additionally, the game incorporates really crazy AAA action sequences. And on top of that, you get this nice balance of platforming and puzzle solving. Sometimes even great games will have a change up of mechanics just for the sake of changing things up, and they can get annoying and something I kind of just want to power through, but I never felt that with Stellar Blade. I thoroughly enjoyed the pacing of the gameplay and willingness to change things up to create a great experience that never really felt dull. One thing that I picked up on was that Stellar Blade really reminds me of the glory days of gaming. It released finished, it works and wasn't littered with bugs and annoying issues at launch. The story and the world feels fresh and new and like something that can be built upon with future sequels. This is one of those games that I'm sure, based on the user scores, would garner a bunch of hype for a new release if it's announced later on down the line. The game didn't try to tick all the boxes of a modern day game just to create a bunch of filler, to have longer, more open worlds, but rather the developers had a clear vision of what they wanted to do and clearly had passion for that vision. The game is great and really is my surprise of the year so far. This is up there with Final Fantasy VII Rebirth and Persona 3 Reload as my favorite games of the year so far, and rightfully so. Every time I start this game up, I'm met with a fun time, and that's all we can ask for, right? Pick up Stellar Blade if you haven't yet. It's well worth it, and it is one of my favorite games of the year so far, in a year that's been packed full of JRPG greatness. I mean, we've had Unicorn Overlord, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Persona 3 Reload, and many, many more to come. Stellar Blade is absolutely a memorable experience and a must-play game that any fan of the genre should play. All right, everyone, that's it for today's video, but I do want to go over a few things real quick. If you've followed my channel for a while now, you may have noticed that I've been a bit slower at putting out content lately, and that's with good reason. Recently, as the channel has grown, I've been trying to expand my content strategy and add some variety to my content. I'll be doing this in the way of live streams, AMAs, some more long form content like podcasts with special guests, and even some giveaways. I have a poll in the community section of my channel, so be sure to vote and comment there on what you'd like to see coming up, and join the Discord because I will be looking to my most active followers for feedback on content. I'll leave a link in the description below for the Discord. Go ahead, jump in there if you'd like. I really look forward to hearing from all of you. Anyway, that's it from me today. Let me know in the comments below what you think of Stellar Blade. Do you think it's a new hit IP? Would you like to see more from Shift Up Studios? I'll catch you all on the next one. And until next time, I'm out.